Wealth Coffee Chat. I'll do the quick intros as the Facebook Live is warming up and everyone is jumping on. Jason Witten is my name. For those who are returning, the regulars, welcome back. Great to have you as you jump on. For anybody who's new, stumbled across this, hearing us for the first time, welcome. Hey, there's a few of the regulars. Deirdre, good morning, Alison. Good morning to you guys. Hope you got the coffee all fired up. And a thankful Thursday. Terrific Thursday. Whatever it might be for you. Helena, good morning. Morning, James. Great to see you guys jumping on. Pratesh. As always, Harami, Aaron. Hey, good morning. Great to see the regulars coming back. There we go. Andrew, Ingrid, Jimmy. Awesome. Like I said, for some of the newbies, if you don't know me, but Graham knows me. Morning, Graham. Morning. Here I see. Coffeeed up already. Pratesh is ready for the day. That's the way. Good morning, everyone, says Bridget. That's fantastic. So, yeah, listen, if you're new, welcome. Jason Witten's my name. Been property investing 20-odd years and coaching property investors over 20. Along the way, learn a few things, paid attention, and each day get to share them with some crazy cool crew, just like you, who are into property investing. And or from all walks of life, like Catherine in business, like many of you guys all looking to create some wealth of some description. Dino, double the coffees, double the shots. We get to talk about little mini topics each day and maybe just bite-sized bits of information to sort of get our heads around, because this thing is a marathon, not a sprint. Say that nearly every time. Going the distance, building a property portfolio takes time, and it's worth it. But sometimes it's not as easy as you might think. So you need to tune yourself up, tune your mind up, tune your portfolio up, tune your finances up each day, each week, each month, just to make sure you're going to go the distance. So welcome today. What I want to do is talk about the idea of proximity for profit when it comes to you and your portfolio, you and me. Now, it's an interesting concept, the idea of proximity. The closer we can be with our real estate to, quality infrastructure, quality things, helps our wealth. And let me jump on over, and I want to do a little demonstration about what that means when it comes to our world of property investing. Let me just do a little sort of example here, and let's do an example. We'll call it Melbourne right now. We'll call it Melbourne, and we'll do a couple of examples. So the idea that the closer, let's just call this at the moment, the CBD. Now the CBD can be the beaches, it can be transport, it can be, employment hubs, it can be school zones. Sam talks about green zones, hospital medical zones. He talks about, beach and sand zones, whatever area zone we are trying to get close to will help our wealth. The old adage of location, location, location absolutely still rings true to this day. However, it's not as a blunt an instrument of location, location, location when it comes to creating our wealth. And I want to talk through that with you guys today. Now, often we have a budget. We're restricted to being able to purchase a certain amount of real estate, okay, or a certain budget of real estate. So let's say right now I'm going to use Melbourne as our example. I'll bring it down a little bit so we can see that. Let's say we're going to use Melbourne as our example. My head's in the way. All right, hang on. I'll cut that out and put it over there. We've got Melbourne. I'll put it there. There we go. Need to look at my little thing. All right, we've got Melbourne. We're good to go. Melbourne is our example. And let's say right now we have a $650,000 budget. So chuck it in the chat if you want to get involved or get active right now. How far from the CBD of Melbourne do you think that we would be able to buy a house in Melbourne? What sort of kilometre distance do you think you'd be able to buy a house in Melbourne? Now, the house price in Melbourne has been going absolutely ballistic. Hey, good morning. Good morning, Ken. Good to see you, mate. All the way from the land of the Philippines. Awesome. Morning to Wealth Coffee Chat. 40K. So Pritesh is bang on, right? So here's what happens. You're out there, gang. You're out there. Maybe 30, maybe 40 kilometers from the CBD. You're getting yourself a reasonable house, okay? A house to live in. And, you're a fair way out there. You've got to think about, an old house. You've got to think about, maintenance. You've got to think about driving. It's probably not going to be in the best location or the best position for the property. You're making some compromises, et cetera, et cetera. Now, as we go closer to the city, what are we going to be doing? So we're 30 to 40K from the city for a house, okay? And as we go a bit closer, let's have a look at what it might look like if we had a townhouse. So we just did a project in Mill Park. Now, I think Mill Park's like 13 or 14 kilometres from the CBD. Might be a smidge further. Someone chuck it in the chat for me. So it's sub 20. So 20 kilometres from the CBD or maybe a bit less. And townhouses are a little bit rarer in Melbourne, but we've gone 30 to 40K, maybe 20 to 25K. We could look to have a townhouse or a small villa or something like that. So we're getting closer to the infrastructure, closer to where the wealth value is when it comes to cities, infrastructure, jobs, transport, blah, 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 right? And then what we're doing is we're thinking, all right, well, if we want to get even closer to our infrastructure, our location, the place where we think we want to be, then we would look to buy a unit. Now, at the moment, about 5K from the CBD can get you something pretty nice for 650 in Melbourne, okay? So as you look at it, gang, when you look at this, have a look at the distance as we go outwards from the city or outwards from a location. There's two things that you would have to change. Let me put it on the other side. There's two things that you would need to change if you wanted to buy something different. And only two things that you can change. You can increase the money. So you can say, oh, I can spend more instead of 650, to get a house from there to there, you'd go 650, 1.5, $3 million, right? So that's what would happen, okay? Now, most of us don't have that luxury as a budget, okay? As you go, okay? Thanks, Pritesh. Well, there you go. Even townhouses in Melbourne can be a little bit hard to find when it comes to the distance from the city. Pritesh is saying 35K as well. So the idea is that you would change the budget, the money that you're spending. And for some of us, you can't afford to do that, can you? You can't afford it. Can you afford to go from 650 to $1 million? Well, maybe not. My borrowing power is 650. That's it. I'm done. But I want to get closer. I want a better location because you can't change the location easily. Remember, gang, it's hard to change the location easily in the future. And then the other one someone would call it a compromise, but I don't call it a compromise. I call it a smart choice, where if you're getting closer to the location, you then exchange. Instead of buying a house, you buy an apartment. You exchange the property type. Okay, and that is the proximity for profit concept, where I would put proximity to something over the style of property as an investor, okay, as we go. So keeping that in mind, because for me, you don't want to be miles and miles from the city, because that's going to be more complicated long term as a property investor as your rents grow. So check this out. This was interesting. This was an interesting little article that came out just the other day about the difference, the gap between a house and a unit or apartment in some of these quite attractive locations. Okay, and it was mind-blowing what was happening, or what's happening in this sort of space. Now you have a look at this. All right, now some of these suburbs, not only did I say in the intro, or the yeah, it's huge, isn't it, Pradesh? Some of these suburbs are really, really interesting. We've done a few deals in and around these suburbs down in Melbourne, which are brilliant, which is great. We've done some stuff in Melbourne, Armadale, Balwyn, and when you have a look at St Kilda, down the bottom there, where is St Kilda? There we go. Now, the difference between the house price and the apartment price is pretty sweet, right? So what can happen also, not only your proximity to infrastructure, the transport, the jobs, the cafes, the restaurant, those things that you want, because they're lifestyle maneuvers, they're lifestyle choices. Not only that, is that what you can look at is where the wealth is, the house wealth, because the house wealth tends to drag up the other apartments. So the units and apartments, they get dragged up as a byproduct of those houses going up. Yeah, a unit's not a townhouse. Yep, dead right. Bye. So a unit is a multi-density, 3+ story property, and a townhouse is often maybe 2 stories, 3 or 4 bedroom, but they're all got common walls as you go. So the other proximity for profit is the proximity to other wealth, gang, and specifically house wealth here. These suburbs, there are wealthy people and wealthy downsizers and wealthy children of those people who've got houses. And so lots of people in those areas are very happy to pay a premium for a good quality property, a good quality apartment, rent a premium for a good quality apartment, etc. So there you go. So hopefully that made sense. Proximity for profit, the closer you can get to good quality locations, but also proximity to other wealth for house prices and other places. And every single city in Australia has that gap and those pressures in suburbs, gang, as we go around. So I think that's a really interesting bit of information to look at as a property investor, and having a look at the difference between house price and apartment, townhouse gap prices, and having a look at the distance between them as we go. So there you go. Something to think about as a property investor as we go. So there you go. All right, gang. Wealth Coffee Chat done and dusted. We did well. 15 odd minutes today, and let's call that one done and dusted. Okay, join me tomorrow. Another Wealth Coffee Chat Friday, as we often call it, Friday. And yeah, there you go. Townhouses being put up everywhere. Alison, how far away from the CBD are you, Alison, now down there? Give us a shout out in the chat. But, listen, gang, it's an interesting one as we build our portfolio. Remember, we can't change the location of our properties easily. And I've always preferred to be closer to infrastructure than further away for a house or something like that. 30-ish Ks. There you go. So that's the benchmark down there in Melbourne. The townhouse world is coming in strong. And Brisbane's coming in strong, really strong with townhouses as well, as an alternative to house prices, because the house prices are dashing away. You think about it. Hey, there's Chuggy. Hey, Chuggy, all the way from Newcastle. Woohoo. Good morning. You think about it. In Sydney, if you live in Sydney and you work in the CBD, you've got to be a gazillion miles away to buy a house. As a young couple, I had a friend the other day talking that one of their friends was looking with $1 million, and they'd kept going almost to the Blue Mountains before they could buy a house, So crazy. Anyway, I'm rabbiting on now. Great to see all of you. You guys are awesome. Thanks for joining. Thanks for dialing in. As always, give us a shout out if you want any questions answered. I do have something lined up for Amy. Amy, if you're there, if you're listening in, Amy McFadden has asked me about New Zealand and investing in New Zealand as an Australian and what's going on over there, et cetera, et cetera. So, Amy, keep an ear out for next week. Amy, it's either Monday or Tuesday. I'm going to bring in all the way from New Zealand our property investment expert over there, Sue Irons, who runs the Positive business out of New Zealand, and she will give us a bit of a heads up on what's going on in NZ in a Wealth Coffee Chat in the morning. All right, that's it. I'm done. This time I'm done. All right, gang. Have a great day. You're awesome. And join me tomorrow around about the same time, about 8 a.m. for another Wealth Coffee Chat. Bye-bye.